Okay, this is Navy Old Salt Gamer. This will be my last LARrE update video. I did rearrange some things. I now have 4 rows. I did attempt to make a circular LARrE. The limitation is, at this point, unless somebody can tell me a different way, you have to read the slots of the hydroponic devices. And in order to do that, you have to use a pin. You have 6 pins. You need a pin for each hydroponic device and the LARrE. So it looks like to me there's no way at the moment, until I do some more experimenting, and there it's working, to have a circle with more than 5 LARREs, or 5 hydroponic devices. It just made more sense to use 4 different LARREs, and I named them LARrE 1, LARrE 2, LARrE 3, 4. And I did change back up this all around. This is much more organized back here. And you can see how it's dropping them into the input, and then I do a batch close to the device. And there is the output bins back there. This is kind of longer than it was, but you kind of have to do it this way. I added a 7th junction, which leads to the export bin. That's where the seeds come. Basically, it's all working really, really well. You can see it's it's reseeding it. Just to let you know, I did notice there's no long pauses. I rewrote the program. I can't take full credit for this because I turn this one off for a second. I found this online and made it work in my program. I did it a little differently than what they did. But is that the right one? Nope, let's do this one. Yeah, let's do this one. It shows it better in this one. Sorry about that. And I did test the sound, so the sound should be good. And let me put that back. Okay. So I'll scroll through this program. I did put a link in the workshop. I have to edit it. I haven't figured out exactly how to do that yet. It's not an easy thing to do from what I see in the Steam workshop. But for example, this row devices I called HY, and then HY 1 through 5. I don't remember why I called them HY anymore, but there wasn't a reason for it. And then LARrE 4. So what I did to get rid of the pregnant pauses is I did a JAL wait, which loads this location and jumps to wait. And wait is down here. And what it does is it loops in wait until LARrE is idle. So what this will do is it jumps to wait, yields, loads if it's idle. If it's not idle, BREQ, which is if it equals 0, go back 2 lines. So it just does this little loop. And as soon as it's idle, done doing what it was doing, then it jumps RA, which returns it to the point that it JAL'd from. Hopefully that makes sense to you. But this is the code. I have updated it and changed it. It runs real smooth. It runs real good. And I'll scroll through this. You basically can name the hydroponic devices. That's why I called it HY. Hydroponic devices, any name you want. And then you just got to copy them over here. So I'll scroll through this. Again, start. This is checking if it's occupied. If it's occupied, then there's nothing for this to do. It just keeps looping. And then when it's seeding, it'll knock the seed or go to the correct branch. And then this is how I take it through the steps go to this, for example, this is the first hydroponic device, so it goes to setting 1, which is junction 1, activates, of course, that wait subroutine I told you about. Then it goes to setting 6, which is junction 6, which is where it drops off whatever it picked, and then it activates. And then the import chute cycles, and then it rechecks the hydroponic device to see if there's still a mature plant in there. If there is, then it goes back up there. So it keeps cycling through here until there's no mature plants left. The only time this would be a problem would be if, well, no, because it wouldn't be mature. So even, I got some cocoa, by the way. I have done some trading. I'm up to 25.77, but I did have to spend a lot of things. I bought cocoa and sugar. I am now eating bread, changing my train of thought here. But this is basically the same for every hydroponic device. Pretty much, well, it is the same, with the exception of changing the junction points. But there you go. You can see this online in the video. I just wanted to scan through it. As you can see, they work flawlessly now, and there's hardly any pause. That JAL wait works really well. It's very smooth operating now. There is one little hiccup. If, say, these two become seeds at the same time, it does get a little confused, but it corrects itself, so it's not a big deal. In other words, it may go here and then go to pick up a seed or something. It corrects itself, so it's not a big deal. It just might, every once in a while, very, very rarely, I've only seen it do it twice, kind of skip what it's supposed to do, and there it just planted. So this is working good. This is the main program. This is my, let's do it this way. This is my seeding program. Again, because you need all the pins. I could probably squeeze this in the same program. Probably not. It would be really close, because this is 82 lines. Nah, it wouldn't fit. But for this one, it does the same thing. If it's occupied, it just idles. And then if it's not occupied, it'll set this to 1. So say hydroponics device 1 is not occupied, it'll say R1 now equals 1. So then it'll come down here. Let me run that back again. If it's not occupied, in other words, if it needs a seed, it'll be 0. And it'll set that to 0. I'm sorry, to 0. This is confusing, but this has to be in a load slot. That is just a slot number. Has nothing to do with anything but directing it which slot to read. So this is saying load slot R1, hydroponics device 1, slot 0. Is it occupied? If it is occupied, it returns a 1, and this would, all these lines here would ignore it and go back to start. If it isn't occupied, in other words, if it needs a seed, it returns 0. So this will say, okay, R1 is 0, go here. So then I send it to the output bin, which is junction 7 now, and I use the same JAL wait, and I activate it there, and then this is LARrE 4, it goes to setting 1 because this is hydroponics device 1, and then activate and JAL wait, and then I jump to start because I only have to do this once. I don't have to check anything. Once it loads the seed, it's done. So, and that's the same for every hydroponics device. So there's a look at the two programs that I have basically for every one of these. The first one's over there, and then row 2, row 3, and row 4. But this is working really well, a lot faster. Now this should go get a seed. Yep. There we go. So it's working really well. Now, a little bit of an explanation. Let's see if I can get over here. So this area. This is just a flip-flop duct, basically. I have two types of seeds in here, soybeans and wheat. It doesn't matter. I just flip it back and forth between each row. So I got 2 rows of soybeans and wheat. And this works best if you do it this way, but I'm sure you could do it other ways if you wanted to. But it just switches back and forth. So this might be soybean this time, wheat this time, soybean the next. But that goes for all of them. I have exactly 10 seeds in here. So I'm not going to run out of seeds because it pulls the seed every time, drops it in there, and then the sorter says if it's a seed, route it back into here. If it's not a seed, route it over to the vending machine. But anyway, and of course I have them stacking to 1 because I want 1 seed at a time. I don't want, if I had a stack of 5, it would try to plant all 5, and Lord knows what that would do. I got room for 1 more row, for 2 more rows. I might go ahead and do that because I'm going to use this to try and make my $1 million. I'm a long way from that yet. But working really well. No glitches anymore, no long pauses. I'm very happy with this. Like I said before, I'm no expert programmer, but I'm sure there's an easier way to do this. Somebody said something about indexing them. I tried to do, like I said, a loop of 10. There's just no way to do it. There's not enough lines of code that at my level, there's 135 lines. I could not get everything done with 135 lines. I'm sure somebody smarter than me could figure it out. Even the example LARrE code that they had, the developer only had 3 hydroponic devices, because that is the limiting factor. Because you got to read the slots, and you need a pin in order to read the slots, or a slot reader. So I could either not use any pins and use 5 different slot reader cards, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, I could do everything but 2. Why would I want to use 10 different slot readers for what I'm using these 2 for? So, as far as I know, this is the easiest way to do it. I'm anxious for somebody to prove me wrong, because I know there's programmers out there that are smarter than me. But this is working really well. Quite proud of it. Built it from scratch, with the exception of the JAL weight, which I found online that somebody else used. Oh, yeah, 2 going at once. That should go back to the back one. Oh no, I'm still with the front one. And that'll sort. You can watch the flip-flops move here. Yeah, see? That flips. That's an interesting thing. I wonder what would happen if it timed it perfectly. This is pretty close. Because they all flip at once. I wonder what would happen if it flipped when another one came in. Like I said, every time it's had a problem, it's corrected itself. The program kind of auto-corrects. There's a problem. See, there's what I mean. There's probably another one that needs seeding and it went to harvest. But it corrects itself. So it's okay. Worked fine. There is a thing that I added on the first one that I haven't added all of them. But, that's what I said. If it has a little glitch like that, it auto-corrects itself. It's not a big deal. So there you go. I can walk out of here, come back, and everything is running smoothly. I don't have like, uh, seeds laying on the ground or seeds jammed up somewhere. I still have, this is my manual area, by the way. This is stuff that takes forever to grow, and it didn't make much sense to put it over there. And I'll just do this manually. I did put some extra cocos in here because I want the cocos and the pumpkins, which literally, the pumpkins just take forever. I don't know what they did to pumpkins, but they are really slow. But I got a little room for expansion here. That's my manual section. It's kind of interesting just to sit here and watch this, because I do look for little bugs like I just had there, and then I try and figure out what happens. But it auto-corrects itself, so now that should say, oh, I need a seed. It may take a couple seconds to go through the programs. There it goes. Oh boy, these are just going to town here during this video. Okay, that should be enough. Again, you saw the two programs I used working really well. Please, experiment with it if you want to. Tell me if you notice something I could do better. I would love to shorten this program so I could use one. I just can't think of any way. And that should be either a soybean, or not soybean, cocoa or sugar cane. So that's good. I'm building a lot of sugar cane and cocoa because I want cakes and stuff and that type of stuff to sell. It seems like ores are the way to go. I may write a advanced furnace program. That's a little bit in the future though. But I am selling things. They're happy I'm making them money now. You have a good day. If you also gamer, subscribe and like. And let me know what you think about this. I would love for somebody to look over my program and say, hey, you can do this better this way, and give me an example. But that's it. You have a good day.